in the spirit of convergence, I believe life is a series of journeys. And some of these journeys are intertwined with each other. Some of them are standalone journeys. Some of them are short. Some of them are long. But looking around the room, there's a bunch of adults here. So we've all navigated a bunch of journeys. We've navigated our schooling career. We've navigated our tertiary career. Some of you are navigating a journey of marriage or relationship. Some of you are navigating a journey of parenting. But every journey has got three components: a start, and a middle, and a finish. But a start's just a very short space in time, isn't it? And a finish is just a transition that leads us into another journey. But the middle, that's where the story is written. And so I'm very passionate about the idea of the middle. I've got this term, middle intelligence, that I speak about, because if we can learn to navigate the middle well, then ultimately we can reach significant finishes. Because the reality is that entwined in all these journeys are our hopes, our expectations, our desires, our dreams. And I think all of us want what's good for our lives. We want to walk great journeys. We want to achieve great things. And yet, as I work with people, there's three categories of people that I tend to see a lot of, which is concerning to me. And the first category of person is the person who seems to be constantly navigating struggle. They're overwhelmed. You know, when you talk to them and say, "How are you?" "I'm busy. There's a lot going on." And I don't know if you've picked up that demeanor when you talk to people these days. People are quite deflated. It's just always stuff going on, stuff that you have to navigate. We call it adulting, you know. We've got decisions and complications and whatnot. And so that's one category of person. Another category of person is the category of person who's stuck. They're at a crossroads. They're either stuck because they haven't necessarily been able to get out the starting blocks, or they're stuck at this crossroad of having to make a big decision about their lives. Which way to go? Do I take that job? Do I engage in that project? Do I start my own business? And that can be a tricky scenario because sometimes we get into analysis paralysis, and then next thing we find ourselves 5 years down the line with a sense of regret that we haven't necessarily done anything. And then the most concerning category is the escape. You know, the escapism? And some people want to escape from jobs, some people want to escape from relationships, and ultimately some people want to escape from life because of how tough it's been. And I know there's a few times when I've said I'd rather go and become a subsistence farmer in Thailand than carry on doing everything I have to do here, you know, escape for the easy life. And so I've become passionate about working with people in the middle around what does it take to keep going despite these realities? But not just keep going, not just grit it out, not just get to the other side and survive, but what would it take to move from surviving to thriving, or to turn life into an adventure again? What would it take to be able to find fulfillment and to genuinely be able to reach these significant finishes that you've penned down into journals, but you don't seem to be able to turn into reality? And so that's where the middle comes from, and that's why it was created. So where's my field of study? Okay, so this is the reality for me, is I'm not an academic. My field of study comes from the world of ultra-endurance. And I fell into the world of ultra-endurance at the age of 17 when that man over there, Stephen, he was my youth pastor at a church that I was at, sat me down and pitched a cycle tour to me. He said he was going to be riding from Joburg to Cape Town to warm up, and then he was going to cycle from Perth to Sydney, and then from LA to New York, and then John O'Groats to Land's End, and then Amsterdam to Rome, and Cairo back to Johannesburg. And all to raise 1 million rand for vulnerable children here in our city. Then he asked the question that changed my life. Will you join me? Now, I wasn't a cyclist, I wasn't a first-team rugby player, I wasn't an A student, but we were aligned around cause-driven adventure and the strong desire to make a difference. And so in 1999, I found myself riding that thing, which was full of our pannier, our pots and pans, everything we needed to live inside of those bags. And that trusty steed of mine took me around the world. To this day, I don't know why I didn't move the bin. But we spent time cycling through Africa and different countries. But what was happening while we were cycling is, unbeknown to me at the time, I realized that I was creating what I call an ecosystem of endurance. In other words, what I was learning on the journeys, the micro journeys, the start, the middle, and the finish each day, and the macro journey, the big start, the middle, and the big finish at the end of the year. What I was learning was key principles and insights that were not just applicable to cycling around the world, but also applicable to the other journeys that I was going to walk after that tour. My 15 years of marriage, my 12 years of parenting, my 44 years of being a citizen in South Africa, my 20 years of entrepreneurship, and the other journeys that we all share. And so that's why I penned a book called The Middle and created this ecosystem and made it available to others. What are some of the key principles that will support our ability to navigate the middle and finish well? And I'm not here to talk about all of them today. But today I test my insights through the world of 100-mile trail runs. That's my passion right now. I'm thoroughly invested in it. My goal is to run 10, and I've run 6. Trail runs like this are incredible because you get a 44-hour period to run 160 Ks in some of the most beautiful locations in the world, out in the mountains. You get to run through the night with a headlamp on. Some fantastic photos taken by Nick Music here. But what these are actually condensed versions of life. In other words, a short space of time where you stand at the start line, you navigate the middle, and you get to a finish. And whilst that's an incredible experience, it's about what you learn in those condensed versions of life that you can then apply into the other journeys that you walk. The far more significant journeys, your relationships, your career, or whatever it might be. So let's go back to the start. That is all of us at the start lines. That's the night before I left on the cycle tour. Wrapped up in my face is expectation and anticipation for this amazing year that's to come. This cause-driven adventure that's about to start. We had been on the radio and on TV the night before, and so the first 4 days of this tour was absolute euphoria. And you all know what it's like when you start something. Think about when you met the person, that you're in a relationship with, the first day, the first week, the first month, the feelings, the emotions. Or when you started your new job and you walked in and it's this beautiful new environment and this new team. Starts are amazing. And so the first 4 days, brilliant. And the 4th day took us to Bloemfontein, and on the 5th day, we had to cycle to Tromsburg. Tromsburg was 126.6 km away from Bloemfontein, and it was the first day that we had to get onto the N1. And as I left Bloemfontein, I noticed a few differences. Number one, it was warmer than the 4 days before. Number two, I was navigating a very strong headwind. But more concerning to me was my inner state. I wasn't feeling good, my legs were feeling like lead, and I was beginning to experience doubts. Steve sort of started to pull away from me, and it was the first time I started to wonder whether or not I had what it takes to reach Tromsburg, let alone Cape Town, and then the rest of the world. And I call this moment a day 5 moment. And it's my first insight is that every single start that I've navigated is always followed by a day 5. Day 5, as it says at the start of the book, the euphoria has faded away, the newness is gone, you come face to face with what you signed up for, and it wasn't what you expected to see. There's a chasm between your expectation and your reality, and all of a sudden, you're faced with that, and you go, I don't know what to do. And humans deploy 3 strategies into that space. Number one, they give up, and they go and find another journey. Why? Because we get to stand on another start line and start again. This one's going to be better. That last person I dated, no. But this person, fantastic. This job is going to be a whole lot better. And so we stand on these start lines because we want to feel that good and get into the new journey. The second strategy that we deploy is blame. We blame God, we blame our parents, we blame people around us, whoever it might be, for this circumstance that we found ourselves in, for the fact that life isn't working out like we thought it should. And the third thing that we deploy, so we've got blame and we've got giving up. The third one that we deploy is numbing. We stay in it, but we just numb ourselves to the tough realities that we're facing. We distract ourselves with social media and with series, or even more prominent addictions like alcohol and drugs. In this moment, I knew that I could only do one thing: get back on the bike and move forward. There's been days in my career when I've woken up and genuinely wanted to be sick so that I didn't have to go to work. But those are the moments where you've just got to get up and put your clothes on and get going. Sometimes we simply have to wrestle while we ride. Well, what do I mean by that? I mean that wrestling is intentional. If we accept the fact that day 5s are actually opportunities to strengthen, if we get present in the midst of our struggle and start to open them up, they can actually be incredible opportunities for us. As we open up our day 5s and ask ourselves, what can we control, what can't we control? What is this teaching us about me? Is there a specific area that I keep getting trapped by? It might be a financial day 5. It might be a relational day 5. Well, what do I need to learn? What do I need to unlearn? Who do I need to speak to? Every single period of struggle is an opportunity to develop an ecosystem around you to support your ability to learn what it takes to navigate that. And if you stay in the day 5, then the next time you experience the day 5, you've got the intelligence from this one to be able to plug into that one. And so we've got to engage with struggle. I'm not advocating for staying in toxic environments, but I am saying sometimes I think we give up too early. Maybe you've got more inside of you that will support your ability to head through. I remember I ran a race. This is an embarrassing photo, but this was the race called Ultra Trail Drakensberg. It has 75 Ks in Lesotho, and I was ready for this race. I was the fittest I'd ever been. I was going for a particular goal. And I started my race, and I got to 32 Ks, and I was absolutely broken. And this is the aid station. That's a friend of mine, Claire. She's not on Facebook while I die. She's checking me into the aid station. And at the aid station was a couple of 4x4s, and I knew that I could get out of the race, and I could go back to my nice warm bed in the chalet that we had booked in Underberg. But because I know that every start is followed by day 5, I knew that I had to keep going, and I need to get out that aid station and move, and then start looking at nutrition, start looking at gear, or whatever it might be. The next photo is at 121 Ks, and I'm completely in the zone. I'm absolutely loving it. My fastest 21 Ks in that 160 was between 121 and 142. Momentum leads to breakthrough. Stay in it a bit longer. And so we got to Tromsberg. And we arrive on the off-ramp, and we pull up on the end, and Steve and I get together, and I didn't realize how much the day had been difficult for him too. And we cycle into Tromsberg, and we're both broken, and we stay in that night with Dominee, Cassie, and Emmy van den Berg from the NG Kerk in Tromsberg. And I think he picks up on our demeanor. And that night he takes us out to the stoep, to the patio, and he asks us the most powerful question that I was asked on the tour. Why are you here? I had told the story thousands of times. We wanted to raise R1 million for children, our values, social justice, cause-driven adventure, teach people that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. But what I realized in the midst of me sharing the story with Cassie was that motivation is like a water in a bucket, but the day 5, there's a hole, and the bucket just leaks water, and you end up dry. His question catalyzed us telling the story again, and in telling the story again, we reconnected with it. Your story fuels your grit. And today, when I speak to people, I ask them this question that Cassie asked me: why are you here? Why are you in this journey? What's the purpose behind it? What's the vision around it? What are the values that align to be able to get to where you want to go? And I'm often surprised by how people don't know what those things are. They might have been there, but they've forgotten them in the midst of trial. And so my encouragement to you is to pause, to disconnect from your realities, and to ask yourself that question. What is purpose and vision and values for you in the midst of the journeys that you're walking right now? The beauty about purpose is that it frees us from the need to conform and compare and compete and consume. My purpose is to be an encouraging voice. I don't need to be Dr. Kira Erin to do that. I just need to be Travis. I don't need a fancy car to be able to do that. I don't need materialism or things around me to be able to do that. It frees me from the things that do drain our motivation and get us caught in all these traps that life throws at us. And so we've got to refuel from our story so that it's not just about gritting through the journey, but it's about bringing life and adventure back into the journeys that we face. And so my challenge to you as a TED community is to finish well. Why are you here? What story do you want to write with your life? And what ecosystem are you creating that will support you to navigate the middle well and reach those significant finishes? Because man, does our city need significant stories. Thank you.